Good evening. Coming up tonight.
Vice President Kamala Harris was in the Palmetto State this week. Where she went and what the goal was, coming up.
Plus, why the Gamecocks suffered such a loss to the Dogs last Saturday. We have the story.
And later, live music in Columbia this weekend with the annual Cola Jazz Fest. Find out more tonight.
But first, our meteorologist Caiden Dinkins is in the studio here with us now. Caiden, what can we expect to see this weekend?
Well, Abby, this weekend is going to be a nice one. After today, we did break a record-tying temperature for in the past, but we'll have more coming up on that forecast tonight on SGTV Student News at 7.
Live from the Kennedy Greenhouse Studio.
This is Student News at 7.
Good evening, Carolina. I'm Abby Tam.
And I'm Caroline Smith. Thanks for joining us tonight. The Vice President was in South Carolina on Tuesday to speak to college students. Kamala Harris visited 2 HBCUs in Orangeburg, Claflin University and South Carolina State University.
Vice President Harris started the day at Claflin, where she participated in a roundtable discussion. 9 students and U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona joined her to discuss the importance of voting, mental health, and student debt relief, and more.
Harris then delivered the keynote speech at SC State's fall convocation. She helped welcome the university's largest freshman class in 15 years and offered advice to the new students.
Tuesday was National Voter Registration Day, and Harris took the opportunity to encourage the college students to register to vote. She also reminded students to vote in the upcoming midterm elections.
This was the Vice President's second trip to South Carolina this year.
South Carolina will see an increase in jobs this year, according to the state's Secretary of Commerce. So far this year, South Carolina has won bids for almost 100 new projects, with companies either moving to the state or expanding. Because of this, over 5,000 new jobs have been created in the state, with more than half of those in rural communities.
For decades, manufacturing has driven the state's economy, but Lightsey says health and life science industries are poised for success. South Carolina's Secretary of Commerce, Harry Lightsey, attended a Business Over Lunch event hosted by Lexington Chamber and Visitor Center Monday. Lightsey discussed the 93 active projects and the jobs they will create. He says going forward, he wants to focus on identifying which areas in the state attract the most companies and offer incentives for developments in those areas.
He also wants to work on keeping graduates of South Carolina colleges in the state. Lightsey says the number of jobs in South Carolina will continue to rise. He added that 400 additional companies are considering a project currently.
Richland County School District 1 will be tightening security at football games starting Friday. This move comes soon after several other nearby schools experienced game day violence.
Richland 2 recently increased security after several teens were arrested following a fight at a Friday night football game. Earlier this month, a total of 7 students were arrested due to involvement in a fight at the Spring Valley High School football game. New rules include banning of full face coverings and closing of entrance gates at halftime.
Richland 1 Superintendent Dr. Craig Witherspoon says, quote, "We want to be proactive when it comes to safety and security at our high school football games," end quote. Richland 1 officials announced that further changes will be implemented as needed. It's time for Family Weekend at the University of South Carolina. Family Weekend events will start tomorrow and last through Sunday.
One featured event is Rock the Roost, which features food and drinks while the Reggie Sullivan Band provides live music. Rock the Roost will take place on Friday night at the Strom Thurmond Wellness and Fitness Center.
Other Family Weekend events include a University President meet and greet, as well as a game day family tailgating before South Carolina plays UNC Charlotte. More information about Family Weekend can be found on the U of SC website. My parents are coming for Family Weekend, and I'm so excited to see them.
Oh, that's so exciting, Caroline. My parents are coming this weekend too, and I'm really excited to meet my friends' parents.
Absolutely, it's going to be a great tailgate to meet everybody. Coming up after the break, the latest in Gamecock sports. Stay close. This past weekend, the South Carolina Gamecocks took on the best team in the nation. SGTV News 4 sports reporter Michael Herring has the scoop. What have you got, Michael?
This past weekend was not great for the Gamecocks football with a 48-7 loss against Georgia. This has left some question the offensive coach Marcus Satterfield. and his play calling for the Gamecocks. Wide receiver Josh Vann was not overly excited about some of the plays being called during the game. According to the Outkick.com, saying, quote, "Not to bash the coaches or nothing like that, but you know it was like third down and we called a play we hadn't went over in 3 weeks," end quote. Following this last weekend's game, the overall record for our Gamecocks is now 1-2. South Carolina Gamecocks will face Charlotte this Saturday at Williams-Brice Stadium. The game will kick off at 7:30 p.m. Switching over to women's basketball, Gamecocks senior forward Letitia Amir is set to make her World Cup debut with Canada, and our South Carolina alumni Asia Wilson is set to play her second World Cup for the United States. You can watch the game on ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN Plus, or check your local listings. That's what's going on in sports. For SGTV News 4, I am Michael Herring. Back to you, Abby.
Thanks, Michael. Coming up after the break, News 4 entertainment reporter Emmitt Murray will tell us about a festival right near you. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Joining me now is entertainment reporter Emmitt Murray to fill us in on what's happening in Cola this weekend. What do you have for us, Emmitt?
Poet Martha Hoffman describes flowers as bright little day stars scattered all over the earth. Artist Amanda McCaver lift those stars up into the air in her exhibit, Bright Little Day Stars. From now until October 2nd, you can see this beautiful exhibit at the Columbia Museum of Art.
McCaver creates astonishing embroideries by stitching into water-soluble fabric. She then dissolves to leave only the stitching. You won't want to miss these hovering constellations of colorful flora.
So I feel like I messed up because after I was like gathering the story, I went and I looked at some of the pictures and I was like, this is beautiful. Like that art was insane. And I wish I just would have waited to see it in person. So I recommend that to all of y'all. I
can only imagine how beautiful it is to actually look at it.
It was crazy too, and I did a little bit of research on like what it takes to build, and that's like some hard work. So props to the artist on that. That was amazing.
Props to her.
The 5th annual Cola Jazz Fest weekend is back this Saturday, September 24th. It will be held at the State Museum in the Hampton Preston Mansion. Saturday night from 6 to 10 p.m. will feature a gala-like event, including 3 concerts inside the main lobby of the State Museum.
Then Sunday turns into an all-day affair from 1 to 8 p.m. with 5 bands, food trucks, and more. The music will range from blues, Latin, gypsy, swing, and of course, jazz.
So what I'm hearing is like Friday night we all gonna dress up fancy, get our gala on, and then the next day we just go back and eat some food and dance.
I am with you. That sounds like such a perfect weekend.
Sounds like amazing.
That's all your entertainment news for tonight. Coming up after the break, meteorologist Caiden Dinkins will let you know if these hot days will continue into the weekend. We'll be right back.
So before we jump into Columbia's weather, I want to take a look at the Atlantic right here. We do have about 5 areas that we're watching. We can only see, oh, there is the 5th one right there. But the one that has our main concern right now is this one right here, just below the Gulf. That one has possibility to go into the Gulf, and when that happens, or possibly if that happens, we could see some impacts in the United States. But moving on into right now here in Columbia, it is 87 degrees. At dew point is at 66. Cloudy with a chance of showers. That rain has passed with that cold front as it passed through earlier this evening, shall I say, actually. So if those temperatures felt a little bit cooler, that is why you feel that temperature cool down quite a bit. Now, at the beginning of the show, I did mention that we broke a record temperature in September. Now, back in 2010, the temperature was 96 in Columbia, but today we broke it at 98 degrees around 2 o'clock this afternoon, beating a record 12 years old. Now the rest of the state, we stayed in the mid 90s and to the upper 80s as well for the whole entire state, making it quite warm for us here in Columbia. But let's take a look at that in a temperature trend perspective. So starting at 77 on Friday, that temperature cools down quite a bit from today as that cold front passed this evening, but then we start to warm back up over the weekend, hitting 89 on Sunday and then cooling back down at the beginning of next week as another cold front pushes through, giving us some more fall-like weather. But let's take a look at that again with the weather, what that looks like as well. Now again, it's Friday, it is 77, that low is 50, those temperatures do once again warm up, but that sunshine stays out for us, and then once again warming back down towards the end of the week with those lows staying cool as well. But it's looking like it's going to be a great week, Carolina, but also make sure you stay tuned for tonight's edition of Carolina Canines.
And finally, tonight's Carolina Canine features Winston.
Winston was submitted by sophomore McLaren Heck. Winston may be a tiny white dog, but he certainly is not a crusty tiny white dog.
With a beautiful smile, he loves being outside and enjoying upstate New York in the summertime. Now, I will admit I'm more of a cat person myself, but I do love small dogs.
Talking about Winston just makes me think about my dog at home. And much like Winston, I also enjoy uptown New York in the summertime.
I agree. That's all we have for tonight's edition of Student News at 7.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SGTV at USC.
To keep up with all of our content, be sure to also visit us online at sgtvonline.com. For SGTV News 4, I'm Caroline Smith.
And I'm Abby Tam. From all of us here at SGTV, have a great night, Carolina. Forever to thee.